Today is July 31st, 2020, and I'd like to call the District 228 regular board meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please? Mr. Canning?
Here.
Mrs. Gleason? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Campbell here. Ms. Stearns? Here. Mr. Wickham?
Here.
Mrs. Russell? Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is a public hearing on e-learning. Dr. Williams. Thank you, Mrs. Russell.
Board members and community, here tonight holding a public hearing on our e-learning plan. Parents, community members, I want to be very clear, this is not how we're starting the school year. Okay? The e-learning plan is, the purpose is if we have to call an emergency day, like a snow day or a cold day. So think about it in January, if we get 12 inches of snow overnight, Dr. Kendall's going to call an emergency day. That's what this is about tonight. Okay? Our school calendar has 5 emergency days built in. If we use an e-learning day, we do not have to make up the day at the end of the school year, which we know it's better to make it up in as we go rather than at the end. Okay, so I just want to be clear about that. If Dr. Kendall calls an emergency day, we will use our Swift Reach communication to notify both parents, students, and staff. That goes out in an email and a voicemail saying we have an emergency day. We will post the closure on district and school websites and also on social media. Teachers will post their assignment in Google Classroom by 9 o'clock. And these assignments will be 30 to 45 minutes in length. They can be readings. They could be an extension of a project that the students are working on. It could be a writing assignment. It could be a whole slew of things. But again, it should be tied to what they're doing in the classroom to keep that instruction moving forward. Teachers will complete their assignments by 9 o'clock and hold office hours between 12 and 2 for students to reach out to them. Students should, like we did in the spring, will fill out a Google form for attendance by 10 o'clock to say that they're engaging. If for some reason that the student is ill, we ask that the parents call in like they normally do for attendance so that we can mark the student as absent, excused or unexcused absent, however that plays out. If students are receiving technical issues at home, we know in some cases in emergency there may be a power outage in the community, and so the student can't participate in e-learning that day. Students would have 2 days to make up that work. So they're not going to get penalized if they can't engage that day. Do ask though that the students reach out to either the school or their teacher saying that they're having technical issues. School service personnel, so these are your counselors, your psychologists, social workers, nurses, media specialists. They are to continue working on case management reports, checking in with students and families, supporting teachers as needed. Media specialists should be reaching out, providing tech support to students and teachers. If and when we use an emergency day, e-learning day, we will survey both parents, students, and staff to find out how it went so that we can make adjustments along the way. We will use that survey, again, as I said, to make adjustments. Once this plan is approved by the board, it is good for 3 years. So if we need to make changes, we can adjust those. But we have to go through this process every 3 years. And the reason we're doing it tonight is because we have to submit it to the regional office by September 1st. And so that is why we're having a public hearing this evening. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to open the public comment?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Mr. Canning. Roll call, please. Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell? Aye. Ms. Stearns? Aye. Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Russell? Aye. Again, any public comments regarding this presentation just presented by Dr. Williams regarding e-learning versus emergency?
I got a question.
Please.
So I don't understand some of the things that are happening. So when the students come into class, they're there for class time and they're in class. Why is open class time only for 2 hours every day? Why are we not having a Zoom class available to all the students during the class periods to engage them?
Sure. And again, this is something that we can modify along the way, but we're working on just transitioning to this new system. So that is something we can certainly look into. But for right now, we felt just, again, it's a one-off day. This is not something that's going to happen multiple days in a row, we hope. Since I've been in the district, we've only used like 2 or 3 days in a row off. Usually it's one, and then we're back in school.
But in fairness, right, we don't know what the governor's going to do, what laws are going to be in place, and this would be the back. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And again, this is 2 totally different things. So don't think about it as back-to-back e-learning every day for a semester. This is a one-day event, a snow day, a cold day, and we're back to school the next day.
Okay, so can I follow that? So is this the plan that would be in place if, say, in October, all of a sudden, say, like the governor says, well, we need to do e-learning days for 3 or 4?
No.
Okay.
No, and that's what's really hard is we've got all these different terms circling around in our brains, and so it's 2 different things. This is on a one-day closure shutdown, we're back in school tomorrow. What you're talking about is we're out for, like we're in the spring, 11 weeks.
Okay.
That plan we're going to be talking about at the next board meeting. We want to take care of this first, take that off the books, and now let's focus on what we're going to do in the fall.
This was required to be approved by the board to meet the state requirements only for the snow day.
Okay.
What we're going to work on later and present later, not tonight, will be if we have to go full, that'll be a different plan, which doesn't have to be submitted to the state.
Okay. I would still advocate for, a full day's engagement as opposed to just the 2 hours.
Thank you.
Are you going to speak again?
I'm sorry?
Will you speak again during public comment? Or
I think you have a question.
Were you going to speak again during public
sorry.
comment?
Oh, I thought that's what this was.
No, this is the hearing.
Just
This is
hearing
the
and
hearing.
learning.
Oh, okay.
all I'm asking is if you're welcome to speak again, but if you're not, just make sure Tiffany has your name for minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Any other comments? Can I get a motion to close the floor and open to the public? Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Mr. Canning. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Moving on to board minute approval. Can I get a motion to approve the June 16, 2020 regular and closed meeting minutes? So moved. Moved by Ms. Camworth, second by Ms. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Can I get a motion to approve the July 16, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Ms. Camworth. Any discussion?
All I got as an attachment was the agenda for the meeting. I didn't get a copy of the minutes. I'm looking at the attachment that's just showing the agenda, unless I'm missing something.
Or is it the same as 3.1? They're different? We table committee of the whole for next meeting?
You want to come back to that one?
We can- we can-
I'll go it.
We can table it.
Motion to table the approval of minutes.
All right, can I get a motion to table the approval of the minutes for the committee of the whole meeting from July 16th?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Whitcomb, second by Mr. Canning. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Moving on to item 4, communication, comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public?
We do.
Kathy Alvin?
I'm here to address also the extended e-learning. This is not the time to do that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
I said, is this the time that we can address the extended e-learning then?
Sure, yes.
For the possible start of next year?
Yes.
Okay. My first question that I actually have is, was there ever a survey done amongst the parents, as other districts did, in regards to how parents are feeling about the difference between e-learning versus physical in District 228? I don't believe I got it, but I didn't know if that survey was actually done.
There was not a survey.
There was no survey? Can I ask why?
So I did not want to put out a survey that would infer to the public that there were options, because we have to meet guidelines. We're still working on, can we meet the guidelines, to what extent of bringing the students in. So asking if you're interested in 100%, if you couldn't meet 100%, would just raise expectations and then disappoint.
So my thought was, though, let's say that there was let's say 50% interest in returning in a physical manner, and 50% of the parents would maybe not send their kids, then that would open up another possible opportunity of sending the 50% that were interested in coming back in a physical way, and leaving the other 50% as an option for e-learning. I feel that as a parent of, I have 3 children in 228, total of 4 students, or 4 more coming, 7 total. And I feel that by offering a survey, you feel like you have maybe you feel listened to, I guess. So I feel that if you would have had some kind of input to how many people would be interested, that maybe that would sway your ability to maybe have other options for the parents that physically did want to send their kids back.
So we're trying to create the plan. Once we have both plans set up, there's many moving parts to the plan.
I'm sure.
There'll be an option for the parents, but I gotta make sure that both plans are meeting the guidelines and create a safe environment.
Okay, so specifically for me, one of my big concerns is that if children do not go back in a physical way in some manner, then obviously the IHSA rules for them will change. If they do not go back physically, they will not be able to participate in sports, right?
That's not necessarily.
It's not necessarily true? Okay, I have a couple of kids who I feel at this point emotionally we're kind of getting a little unfiltered, a little unstable, and so I'm here to express my concerns about that I feel that the kids in some way, shape, or form do need to physically get back to school, so that's why I'm here.
I appreciate your comments.
Next is Joyce Calvin.
Good evening. My question was kind of on the line of hers, but once you have all of these things in place, will parents have an opportunity to tour the school to make sure that the school is safe? Are you going to put any plexiglass in? What are some of the things that you're going to do to encourage us to let you have our students?
So there are guidelines set up by me, and there are requirements set up by the IDPH. I have to guarantee that all those guidelines will be met. So as we get closer, and I can guarantee that, you're welcome to contact your building principal and have those conversations and make an informed choice.
Okay, because my grandson is a freshman, and so on the website, the freshmen are scheduled to return August, I believe, 14th or 15th.
As of today.
Yes, that was on the website. Okay. And I'm concerned, like the other parents, that we were not given an option. It's almost like we were not considered. These are our children that are coming back. I know you have to abide by the guidelines, but these are children. And we should have some say into the different options. So I really think it's a misstep on your part not to send out a survey.
Jeanette Beck.
Hi there. I don't want to be redundant in a lot of things that Kathy has said, and the other woman has said, I agree with also. There's a couple things I want to touch on though. the things in sports, and I don't know if, I have a son who, he's in college now, he has Asperger's syndrome, so he's on the autism spectrum. One of the things that he's going to be a senior at Eastern Illinois. We were very lucky, we got him a lot of early intervention. One of the things that we were told specifically for him was physical activity and sports are an integral part of his development. We saw it, we had to push him into it, but he didn't necessarily want to all the time, but we had him swim, he played water polo, he played football, he tried different things to see what he liked. When we got to Eastern, the director of the program they had there for adult students with autism said that they're finding that sports play an integral part in the development of children with autism and other learning disabilities. I would hate to see, and I work in the district, I work at Air Force High School, I would hate to see some of the kids that really need sports for socialization skills. It helps them develop a sense of belonging, for them not to be afforded that opportunity. It also helps them with their grades, because they all know that they have to keep their grades up in order to play. So they're all studying harder, they're all doing work, they're interacting with their peers, they're getting physically fit and mentally it helps them. So I just think that sports is extremely important. It's not the only thing, but I do think it is extremely important. I also think that if we talk about essential workers, schools are an essential part of our society. This is where our kids develop everything. Teachers and staff are with our kids probably more than we are most of the day at an intimate level, learning and talking in a setting. I don't see how a lot of these kids are working summer jobs, they're out doing stuff, the grocery stores, Menards is open, Walmart is open. How all of this stuff can be deemed essential, but kids being physically in school is not deemed essential. I just think that they need to be in school for their physical and mental well-being. I think it's extremely important for them. I know, I sent an email last week, and I know it was read, and I heard it was read, and I don't want to keep going over stuff, but I know that we were all caught up everywhere to get that, and that we didn't have an e-learning program at the time in the district, and everybody kind of got shoved into it. And it was really disheartening to see like how unprepared I think that we were at the time, because I do have a daughter. She's a junior in school. She's going to be a senior. She hasn't taken her ACT yet. She hasn't taken her SAT yet. I don't know, she's been off of school for 4 months already. By the time she gets back into school, it's going to be 5 months. And that's if it opens. I did read the email that was sent out, and where it talked about the guidelines that IDPH has set forward. And I know it talks about the required use of masks. I get that no more than 50 individuals in a space. I know that we don't have 50 individuals in a classroom. I know that it talks about social distancing, but it also says social distancing as much as possible. If we cut the class sizes in half, I get that you want to alternate. One of the options that I was thinking, and not that I want them not to be in school, but I would more rather see my child be in school 5 days a week, 1 week, and then maybe off the next week, and then have it alternate that way to kind of get them on not used to not being in school for 5 days a week. I just think that they need to be in school and they need to be with people. And if it's 2 days a week, it's kind of like they're working a weekend and they have the rest of the week off. And I know that you're planning for remote learning. And here's another question: is it gonna be like a Zoom type? I mean, if you go by the 2 days in school and then 2 days off and then 1 day of e-learning, are the 2 days that they're remote learning, is that gonna be like a Zoom type of classroom where they can actually see the teacher while he or she is actually instructing in real time as opposed to watching a video?
Those are the details we're working on right now.
So we don't know what that plan is yet, is that? Or Or is that what you're shooting for?
We're working as rigorous an academic setting as we can get. We're working with our union reps, we're doing everything we can to make it the best possible situation we can.
I mean,
Just that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you while we were stuck, that everyone has statements and questions. We do have a 5-minute limit in our policy for public comments.
Okay.
So we got all your questions noted, and when Dr. Kendall has all the answers, everyone will know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to give me a call or
Oh,
I'll set up a meeting.
thanks.
Next, Terry Golder.
Good evening. While I spoke my piece at last Thursday's meeting, I just wanted to again quickly reaffirm my personal feelings on this difficult, unfortunate decision. I understand that you have stated that you'll be making your final decision by August 1st, so until then, we will continue advocating and hoping and praying that you do the right thing for the kids. We all know the risk involved, and the chances of the kids contracting COVID are likely possible, but the long-term damages to these kids not being in school are much more concerning and life-threatening, in my opinion. We know everyone is working around the clock brainstorming on how to take measures to keep everyone safe. But has it been thought about what the repercussions would be of them not attending actual school? Suicide, depression, and substance abuse in teenagers and kids have increased tremendously during this pandemic, and their loss of mental, academic, and social development are unstable and crumbling. They are losing the ability of dealing with real high school struggles kids have in school, having to deal with disappointment, dealing with jealousy, staying up late, studying for a big test, enjoying the feeling of success, the feeling of winning or losing. What about the kids who live in broken homes and need school as their happy place? I know we are living in a world right now with so much controversy surrounding us. Politics, racism. Do I send my kid to school or do I homeschool them? There are probably tons of parents and people opposing what I'm standing here today advocating, but that's okay. Because fortunately, we do live in a world of opinions and options, and people can individually do what they feel is safe and healthy for ourselves and our children. But right now, we need your help to allow our kids in school. Us parents hold the torch high to District 228, and we know you have high standards too. And we are so proud of our school district, but please don't follow the surrounding school decisions and lean towards full remote e-learning. Be better than that. Make a statement. Stand up from the rest. Show leadership to other schools. Please do please do our kids right and keep them in school, at school. Thank you.
Kim Knight.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but I'm going to give my 2 cents while I'm here. I would not want to be an administrator in a school district currently right now. So I'm sorry for what you have to go through. As a parent, I have 3 children in District 228 right now, all at very different levels and in different programs. I have one who's number 3 in her class at Oak Forest. I have one in the Bridges program, and I have one who struggled tremendously with e-learning. My main focus is my son, and on her words, children with anxiety, depression need to be in school. They have to be in school. So I'm curious, and I don't know what's been considered yet, but at the very least, we have kids in the Bridges program, it's a very small amount of students in school 5 days a week. That would be a tremendous relief to those of us that have to watch those kids suffer every day. And from there, I wish you the best. I would love them to be in school. I want them to be safe. But my main concern are the children with an IEP that need to be there. That's it. Thank you.
Any other comments, Nicole? I know this is a very important topic for everybody, and there's still a lot of work that has to be done. And to kind of talk to the survey, we wanted to make sure that you had the right options, not that you got any options. And if I heard Dr. Kendall correctly, we wanted to make sure that those options were feasible. So it's not that we don't care about what you think, we absolutely do. And I'm so glad that you're here to talk to us and to share your thoughts, because this is where we actually get to hear more about why you want the decision, why you want your child in school versus not wanting your child in school. So sharing your thoughts with us so that we can hear them and we can hear you. But to say that we didn't care because we just sent the survey out right away, I just wanted to make sure that you heard from us that that was not the case. I think Dr. Kendall, the team are working very hard to make sure that what options we give you are in fact the right options, be it the choices between e-learning and staying or coming back to school full time. I think we can all attest that we want children back to school 5 days a week, as much as you do. But the safety of our students and our staff and the families of our students and staff is a priority, and I think we just want to make sure that we do the right decisions. Just want to throw that out there, but thank you very much for your time.
I could just add something. Sports is really not up to us either. That's IHSA is dealing with Department of Health to decide what's
Right, but we were under the understanding if they weren't in school physically, that the sports would not be an option. That's what our understanding, that's where the sports comes in. And if you do completely 100% e-learning, it was our understanding, if they're physically not in school, then sports then would not be an option.
As far as I'm aware, IHSA has not made a decision one way or the other. They're meeting with IPA to try to decide what to do.
So,
Right, but you're not understanding what I'm saying.
so if somebody chooses remote, it would be up to the school district to decide whether they're eligible or not.
I see. Right, so that's why that our understanding was if they went completely remote, that IHSA then would not allow, like if you miss a day of school and you can't go to a game.
Right.
So that's where the sports come into, where the sports were into play for us, is it was our understanding if they went 100% remote, that whether IHSA ruled that they could do sports or not, they would not be able to because they were not physically in school.
That would be our move.
Gotcha.
And I'm hearing IHSA is going to make, IDPA is going to make some decisions later this.
Right, I do understand that that doesn't really have anything to do with you, but that was how that connected with the e-learning.
Correct.
Thank you.
Christie?
Yes.
Should I have a comment? Should I wait until our?
Yeah, we got those comments. Thank you, Barry. All right, who's got our superintendent report?
So Freedom of Information Act requests since our last board meeting, Ken DeLoyan, Smart Procure, requested all purchasing records from 1/10/20 to current, specifically purchase order number, purchase date, line item details, line item quantity, line item price, vendor ID number, name, address, contact person, and your email address. This request has been completed. I'd like to speak a little bit about our process. I need everybody to know that we care deeply about each and every child and situations that we're dealing with. Our team is working diligently to try to get as many people satisfied as possible. I understand the decisions that I make, people will disagree with me and I can accept that. But I want everybody to know that I am not going to make any recommendation that I can't believe in my heart, that we can provide a safe environment. Once we get through the safe environment, then we start working on building out all of those other options. And frankly, right now, we're still struggling to create an environment that I can say is safe within the guidelines. So I'm not saying that it's out of the question. I'm saying we're being creative, we're struggling, and we'll do our best. But please know, your students' well-being is in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kendall. Item 5.2, any board member reports?
Yes.
Go ahead, Barry.
And it's more of just a comment follow-up from our audience. And it comes from a sports background. I played college football for 4 years, and I know, and obviously I played here for 4 years, and I know that's a very important part for parents and obviously the kids, right? The players, they enjoy it and they interact, and it's a positive experience, hopefully. But what I do want to express to you guys, and we film this so other people that can't hear can hear, is that I'm getting some emails, if we're not in school, my son or daughter might miss out on scholarship money and this and that. I just want to tell you, as a former coach, former player, that if your son or daughter has that talent, okay, and they're a senior, and you're thinking, geez, this senior year we're not going to be able to play, and the virus and all that, don't worry. If your son or daughter has that talent, okay,
okay? They are already on the radar, okay? And I don't know if that applies to anybody in here. Again, we videotape this so our community can watch it at a later date. The professionals know if your son or daughter has what it takes to be at that level where they can earn themselves money for school, scholarship, okay? So, yes, although it would be very sad if we can't go through a sports season at 228 this year because of nobody's fault in this room, okay, that would be very heartbreaking and sad, absolutely. But just know, the professionals that go out and recruit athletes have already known about your son or daughter since they've been a freshman. And that's a guarantee, okay? I guarantee that. If they have a special talent, they're on the radar, okay? So if that eases somebody's nervousness about maybe your son or daughter missing a season or something, please don't, okay? Don't get yourself all wound up over that. Again, stress the point, nobody at these tables caused this virus. You guys didn't cause it. We've been presented with a very difficult situation to keep our kids and our staff safe, okay? And I know I have all the confidence in this man right here that will gather the information from scientists, from people that know what they're talking about, because I know I'm not an infectious scientist doctor, and I don't think anybody else in the room is, okay? We have to listen to the professionals, and I'm sure Dr. Kendall will. And if there's a chance through listening to the professionals to get our kids back in school, I'm sure this man will present it to this board, and we will act appropriately. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Any other comments from the board?
I do. Mrs. Ressler, if you could pass to your right the email I brought this evening. Mark, if you could take one and pass one down. It's unfortunate that I have to share this email this evening with everything that's going on in our district. It really needs me to take the time to have to bring this up. But at the same time, I think it's very important that our staff and our administrators and especially our taxpayers are aware at how some of our administrators' time is shamefully wasted by some very immature behavior. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read the email I received from Dr. Kendall on July 2nd. He said, "Dear Kim, I want to explain a situation that was brought to my attention last week by Ms. Stearns and again last night by Mr. Johnson. On June 25th, Ms. Stearns and I had the following exchange by text message. At 3:07, I received a picture of a check that included the date 6/12/2020 and an additional picture that included Tom O'Malley's signature. Next, Ms. Stearns sent a question mark only. I responded, 'What is this?' She responded, 'I guess there were many sent out.' I responded, 'Who is the teacher and what is the check for?' She responded, 'I guess there were many sent out. Sorry, I meant to include what it was, then someone came to the door, then I forgot.' I responded, 'What was the check for?' Her response was, 'IDK.' I responded, 'You are not giving me many clues.' She responded, 'No, I really don't know.' With this information, I called Brittany Morrison, who is on maternity leave, and asked her to investigate. She said that she would do so. I did not talk to Brittany about this situation after that communication. On July 1st at 9:55 p.m., I received the following text message from Mr. Johnson. And mind you, this is at 9:55 p.m. to our superintendent. Okay, why is Tom O'Malley still signing checks? Dr. Kendall responded, I have followed up with Brittany this morning, and below is her response. Good morning, Bill. The district uses the Allied Benefit System as our third-party administrator to handle all of our dental claims. When Tom O'Malley left the district in 2017, I notified Allied to have myself added as the plan administrator. However, instead of replacing Tom altogether, they just added me on as an additional admin. Typically, the dental claims are paid via ACH wire directly from Allied. There are a handful of hard checks that are still sent, usually because the dentist's office doesn't accept the wire transfer. Again, these checks are sent directly from Allied, which is why I didn't realize that they're still using Tom O'Malley's signature. I have notified Ally that Tom can be removed altogether, and they will be using my signature on the checks moving forward. I apologize for the confusion. If you have any further questions, please let me know. Sincerely, Bill. My response to Dr. Kendall on Monday, July 6th. Hi, Bill. I hope you had a wonderful holiday weekend. In an effort not to violate Open Meetings Act, I am only CCing Christine Ressler, Board President. Please forward my response to all board members. Thank you for sharing the email below. I do have a few questions. Before I read my questions, the reason I'm reading this email aloud because OMA does not allow Dr. Kendall to share this email because I was asking for a response from all board members. My questions were, number one, why did Ms. Stearns have a copy of this check? Who provided it to her? Number two, why did she not share a complete copy of the check with you? Number three, why did Mr. Johnson have access to this information but not the other board members? The explanation from Brittany makes sense, and I'm glad that the situation will be resolved. However, I'm confident this should have been handled very differently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't the employee have followed the proper chain of command and reported this situation to either his or her supervisor, building administrator, or directly to you or Brittany? I do not at all understand why this matter would be given to a board member. I also do not understand what Ms. Stearns was actually asking of you by only providing a question mark with a partial picture of a check. Do we speak in code now? Furthermore, did this matter really warrant a text to Dr. Kendall at 9:55 p.m.? I'm actually disgusted by the lack of professionalism and lack of respect displayed by certain board members. During the current COVID crisis and the challenges that Dr. Kendall and the administration are facing, I'm appalled by the immature approach to administrative issue that could have easily been resolved if the proper protocol was followed. Dr. Kendall, thank you for handling the matter in the best way you were able, given the limited details. I realize you may not have all the answers to my questions above. Perhaps Ms. Stearns and Mr. Johnson would like to enlighten me and the rest of the board as to how this situation came to their attention. So now that I am here in this meeting, I am asking you that question.
As usual, when I'm contacted by a member of the staff, I give Bill that information. I sent him exactly what was sent to me. People, and we've discussed in the past, for whatever reason, don't want to go to him directly.
Okay, so you only got a small portion of the check.
To me, yeah, I'm sorry, someone came to the door. I don't believe it was 9:55 either, because no one comes to my door at 10 o'clock at night.
I didn't say it was
in the
Mr.
day.
Johnson and texted.
It was in the day. I can look and see. But to me, it makes me sad that this has been going on for 3 years and no one has ever mentioned it to us. Why? That's the issue to me. No one's ever
that's
ever said,
probably
why do I have
number
a check with Tom O'Malley's signature on it? It's a very, to me, it didn't seem like it was a big deal to investigate it. How many checks are, like Brittany said, how many checks are actually physically going out? A handful of people, either somebody inside was stamping them incorrectly. Could it be somebody trying to create a problem internally? Oh, I'm going to be funny here and put Tom's, I got some Tom's stamp and put that on there. Are those checks even valid with his signature on it? You know, it needed to be brought to his attention. I don't know, you know, and whose it was, I don't really know.
So how did you get it?
I got it from somebody who thought it should come to our attention.
Okay, so was it mailed to you or emailed or texted? I mean, how can you say you don't know who it was?
It's not theirs. Someone sent it to them. I don't know who.
So despite all those ridiculous and again immature shenanigans,
What
bottom
difference
line
does
is,
it make? It
I don't
doesn't
understand. No, let me finish. I just don't understand why you could have made a phone call to Bill and said, I'm going to send you a copy of this check I received. Could you look into it? But instead, well, he is desperately trying to find more time to figure out how we're going to go back to school. He's getting texts from you with a question mark. That's my point. That's the only point I want to
His phone dials.
I'm sorry?
His phone dials. I did it. I never expect him to
His
report
phone
anything.
dials.
I gave it to him. He can do with it what he wants.
So I think
He can forward it to them.
what we just want to emphasize here is that there is policy. If teachers or staff members have questions or concerns, please follow policy. Please go to your superior advisor or somebody along the chain of command. It is inappropriate to come directly to a board member. And I think that's the messaging that we just want to make clear today, is follow your chain of command. If you're going to come to a board member with something like this, we're going to send it back to you to go back to your supervisor. So let's just follow policy going forward. Any other board member reports?
Yes, this letter, it's a concern that, you know, with everything that I've just sent you guys an email on, which you choose not to acknowledge or want to hear my interpretation of acts that two board members have done that has disrupted my life. So in fairness to Dr. Kendall, or maybe I should just say I'm sorry for the time that I put it in there, but he didn't have to worry about it. I'm sure that he's got many text messages later than that. This is a serious breach. If Tom O'Malley's name is still being used to sign checks, that means that the bank hasn't acknowledged that Mr. O'Malley no longer works for the district. Why is he still on here, or even we have his stamp or anything of that nature still going around?
Mark, we're not saying that it wasn't something that needed to be addressed. We're just saying that there's proper protocol on how to handle it. So I agree that, and I think Ms. Morrison.
If that person decided that they was not going to go through there and sent it to Deborah Stern, and me and her talked, and she told me about it.
Again, I think we're concerned about protocol and staff members following policy. That is what we are here for. We're supposed to enforce our policy, and there's procedures in place on how to handle situations like this. And coming directly to a board member is not how they're supposed to be handled. I agree with both you and Ms. Stearns that this is a situation that had to be handled, but it has to be handled appropriately, and that's related to what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other board member comments? Yes,
First of all, I'd like to offer my congratulations to all the graduates of 2020. I certainly miss the graduation, something I look forward to every year. I did receive comments from several parents who were part of the virtual, or whatever, the ceremony at Bremen known for us, who were very pleased with what was done to honor their graduate. I'm sure parents from Hillcrest and Tinley felt the same. I just didn't hear from them. So I'm glad we were able to do something to honor our graduates. My other thing I'd like to bring up is Joe McDonald has been our Bremen Township School Treasurer for the last 25 years. He has tendered his letter of resignation as of June 2021. I serve on his board of directors at this point, and the board president has appointed a committee made up of the 3 executive officers, the president, the vice president, and the secretary, that would be me, along with Rob Grossi, who is a township treasurer from Bloom, and Mr. McDonald himself. They will be posting a job description, and just for public record, person that we could potentially hire to replace Mr. McDonald would have to be a CPA or a school business official, and they would have to live in Bremen Township. The committee is hoping to have a candidate recommendation by February for the entire board of Mr. McDonald's elected board to approve for that person to work alongside Mr. McDonald and be ready to assume the role on July 1st of next year. It's really sad to see Joe McDonald leave this position. He has done a fabulous job. When I first got on the board, and interest rates, if you can imagine, were in the 12 to 15% range, and our then treasurer was getting us about 4%. Joe McDonald has totally flipped that curve. He has outperformed the leading indexes of Illinois liquid asset funds and others every year that he has served us. He operates a budget that includes all the tax collection, the bills, and payroll for all of the elementary and for 228. And sad to see him go, but he certainly earned his retirement.
Thank you. Any other reports? All right, moving on to new business. Item 6.1, Ms. Morrison, bills, addendum to bills, payroll, and CDS bills.
Item 6.1 pertains to bills, addendum to bills, payroll, CDS bills. These items are recommended for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Mr. Whitcomb. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye.
Item 6.2.
Go ahead.
Item 6.2 pertains to the request of U.S. Bank National Association dated June 23rd, 2020 for the approval of the assignment of interest to the property owners in the November 18th, 2014 developer incentive agreement to be granted, provided that U.S. National Bank Association agrees to meet all of the prerequisites for such assignment enumerated in section 7.14 of that agreement. This item is being recommended for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Mr. Whitcomb. Any discussion?
Just to clarify, this agreement is through 2024, correct?
Correct.
And all we're really approving is a name change on the owner of that property.
Correct.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.3.
Item 6.3 pertains to the disapproval of the final pay application from CMM Group, Inc. The final approved pay application will be submitted for full board approval when available. This disapproval is being recommended for full board approval.
So moved.
Okay.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion?
Were we able to find out what services they provided?
Yeah, there was a general.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.4.
Item 6.4 pertains to the District 228 tentative fiscal year 2021 budget. The final budget will be submitted for board adoption in September. This item is being recommended for full board approval.
Aye. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Ms. Gleason. Any discussion?
Just, I know in your write-up you explained that there are so many dangling parts in this budget for next year. How late, and if we pass the budget in September, we can amend it for how long?
You can amend it through June 30th of that fiscal year. So we would have until
June 20.
the June board meeting of 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.5.
Item 6.5 pertains to the Career Development System tentative fiscal year 2021 budget, which follows the same procedure as the district. This item is being recommended for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitcomb, second by Ms. Gleason. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.6, Dr. Williams.
Item 6.6 is the District 228 e-learning plan that has been reviewed by the committee last week. Tonight's public hearing and is being recommended for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Ms. Camworth. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.7, Dr. Kendall.
Item 6.7 is the 2020-2021 Illinois High School Association membership renewal. I'm recommending that for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Mr. Whitcomb. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 6.8, Dr. Kendall.
6.8 is the 2020-2021 South Suburban Conference membership renewal, and I'm recommending that
Yeah, just one thing, and some of you may have known that I brought this up in the past, some of you may not, but man, I would really love to see our own conference, and I don't want to take too much time on it, and I brought that up before. And I know it would be difficult, but I would love to see that someday.
Is there any discussion as far as what the conference dues will be like if there is?
So, we talked about it on this level, holding it to next year, so we'll
Okay.
get the money as soon as this year. You can see a reduced rate or zero the following school.
Okay, thank you.
So, could you say it this way?
So we're gonna pay the fees now. If there is not an athletic conference, and that budget is not reduced the following school year, it would be reduced by whatever number appropriate.
So even if, say, there's no football, but there's basketball,
It would be pro.
it would be pro, okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Stearns? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 7, personnel recommendations. Dr. Goggins?
Under retirement, Mary Gable, Keisha Myrie, Dory Nevins, and Jen DeVosher. Under resignation, Delmar Smith, Kim Bartos, Terry Masterson, Nicholas Murray, and Heidi Horn. Under paternity leave, Courtney Stansberry, Michael Blakely, and Stephen Kuchner. Under FMLA leave, Dan Chambers. Under leave of absence, Greg Botica. Under employment, Kevin Baffo, Kimberly Bergman, Jennifer Santor, Jonathan Punke, Lauren Leprick, Sistris Wright, Alexa Kostanek, Lucretia Adams, Kimberly Irving, Mosh Johnson, Amy LeConte, Jerry Ward, Eric Mays, and Christine Case. Under change of position, Kate Streisig. And under additional employment, 1 school nurse and 2 health aides. These are being recommended to the full board for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Whitcomb, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion?
I'd like to pull 7.15%.
I'm sorry, 7 what?
7.15.
Can I get a second to remove 7.15 for a separate vote?
Second.
Roll call, please.
So we're voting on.
Separating out 7.15.
Okay, as a separate vote.
Ms. Stearns?
Right.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Camworth? Aye. Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. So now we'll vote on everyone else but 7.15.
So we still have to have a discussion about that.
All right,
I just still didn't receive Heidi Horn's resignation letter.
Mark, can you speak up? I can't hear you down here.
I didn't receive Heidi Horn's resignation letter.
What's in our document?
Yeah, still.
I read, I mean, it was in the, was in the packet, committee of the whole.
Okay.
Last
I
year.
have to look for it again, but I didn't see it.
any other discussion? Okay, roll call, this is the approval for everybody except 7.15.
Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. All right, can I get a motion to approve 7.15?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canning, second by Mrs. Gleason. Any
Can
discussion?
we get some information on this person? What's the background or anything?
So let's defer to Dr. Kendall, he did the interview.
I can't hear him at all.
I'm going to defer to Dr. Kendall, he's the one who conducted the interview.
Current, facility manager, so.
Does it count to a teacher background or to a, okay, that's not.
Any other discussion? Roll call on the approval for 7.15.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Can I get a motion to move to closed session to consider information regarding probable or imminent litigation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Whitcomb, second by Mr. Canning, roll call please. Oh. And employee discipline, sorry. Roll call please.
Mr. Whitcomb? Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Ms. Stearns? Aye. Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye.